How's it going, YouTube? Coming today with another video, and today, guys, what the bring to you is going to be something that has been brought to my attention, and that is going to be this like ongoing animosity toward mid-range players and combo players, and how each one is like mad at the other. And it reminds me of working in restaurants, how like the morning crew gets mad at the night crew, but you're doing the same job, right? Like it just, to me, this is such a moot argument, right? Like, this is so bad for the game. And I'm going to explain exactly why and why you should learn from each other instead of arguing with each other. Because this is, again, probably one of the dumbest arguments in the game, through and through. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. And I don't need many slides to do that. So if you haven't already checked out my sponsors over on Gem, Cloud, Arlagames, Imperium, Dragonshield, RW, MainPhaze, and Grimoire, definitely go ahead and do so. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so we can hit our goal at 30,000. And without further ado, let's hop right into talking about playing mid-range. Now, there's two things that you can do in this game. You can play mid-range and you can play combo. Obviously, there's like stun and other variants and things, but like the two major ways that you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Mostly is mid-range or combo. And if you're unfamiliar with these terms, let me explain. If you're playing mid-range, you're trying to get the most value out of the most minimal amount of cards. So if you can trade 1 for 2, you're having a wonderful time in mid-range. Now, these decks are harder to play at times because you are on such a fair card basis. Like, nothing you're playing is like overtly broken. You're just trying to win more off of your advantage rather than like even trying to OTK your opponent. Like, you have options to OTK, you have options to play a little bit more control, and that's why it's somewhere in the middle. It's mid-range. But if you're playing something like combo is just like, my first engine got stopped, I'm going to use a second engine, now I'm going to use a third engine, right? And you really have to know your play lines and like what happens when you get hand trapped. Because a lot of times, if you get like hand trapped in mid-range, depending on what deck it is, it doesn't feel that great for your opponent to even hand trap you because they're not really getting that much value. Because sometimes you're not even doing that much like to begin with, right? But if you're playing combo and you get hand trapped a couple times, you kind of have to know what that means and where the combo is going to move to, right? Because if you're in a certain spot when you're playing combo and you get stopped, you can't just like pass, right? Like, you got to put up something. And if you have certain engine pieces in your hand, you have to know which ones to start to bait a hand trap so that you can actually get the main part of your combo going. And then you also have to determine which parts of your combo are the most important to beat the deck that you're playing against, right? So there's a lot to say about both of these, but I'll start with mid-range. If you're playing mid-range, it's such a different game because, again, when you're trying to win off of advantage and not even necessarily like OTKing your opponent, you have to understand that if you see a certain couple cards in your hand, and even if they're like searchers, you have to know what order to play them in, so that A, you get the most value of your search and you're getting to exactly what you want. My favorite example in Striker is if you see Rhoda and Desires and you don't have Ray in hand, what's the order in which you activate those cards? Because they matter, right? And if you activate Desires and you don't see Ray and then you get drolled, you probably die. If you activate Rhoda and gets ashed, now you're praying that Desires is going to get you to Ray. Right? So like, there's a lot of very minimalistic decisions. And the other thing about mid-range is you kind of have to play perfectly, right? Like, if you are playing these decks and you don't successfully trade value with your cards for more value than your opponent's getting, then you're probably behind and you're probably losing. Whereas like combo, you can open up a very awkward hand, and then you see like Enchantress and Diabellstar and a Searcher, and combo killer is always going to be Droll, right? So you're like, what line here not necessarily even just like beats Droll, but lets me get the most value through a Droll? So you really kind of have to keep it in mind, like, there are going to be different playstyles between mid-range and combo that make both of them extremely hard to play at times. And just because somebody goes like, here's one engine, you hand trap me, here's another engine, you hand trap me, here's another engine. You also have to understand that they're trading a lot of their non-engine for just engines. So they're using less hand traps and less cards to be able to crack through boards, because they're trying to crack through boards with just engine, which is arguably harder. And that is something that takes time and practice. Like, you're not just going to pick up this kind of a combo deck and just like play it immediately. Like, you might kind of know what you're doing, right? But like, there's going to be a lot of decision trees that really matter with your performance through an event. Now, why do I feel so strongly on this topic? Well, the two decks that I'm known for playing is literally Tier Limit and Striker. So you got Chainlink 17, and you better play perfectly, right? And this matters, right? Because if we're talking about how, well, combo's harder, well, mid-range is harder, and combo slop is annoying. I played through both of these formats, and I still play both of these decks, right? And they're both extremely hard in their own regard. If you're playing Tier Limit, especially back when we had Kikalas, you actually had to resolve Chainlink 17. And I feel like having to understand where your mind was at in Chainlink 2 versus counting backwards from Chainlink 17 and how that's going to affect everything that you're doing back at Chainlink 1 is extremely difficult and something that not a lot of players can do. Playing something like Striker and having to have your order of operations down and be able to really meticulously break a board and use your interruption correctly to be able to either get through a board or navigate through what your opponent's trying to do to crack your board and then play for turn 3, they're both extremely different. And there's not really an argument to say that one is harder to play than the other, because mid-range can be extremely hard. You have to play perfect. You have to have resources, and you have to be able to use those resources to go plus in card advantage. Combo is extremely hard to play because you have to dodge cards like Droll. You have to know sequencing. You have to know exactly what engines you need at what time and what playline gets you there. You have to know if you get hand trapped once or even twice or 3 times, what that means for your combo and what you can still make. And then with your follow-up, what does your follow-up look like? And how are you able to kill on that turn 3, right? So I feel like when I see all of this discourse online about like, oh, combo is the worst, like, why are we playing combo? Or, oh, mid-range is just lazy, like, why are you not trying to learn like the combo deck? It's not. They're both hard. They both, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a hard game, right? Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is through and through an extremely hard game. It is not easy to play. So when you're playing a deck, especially if you go on like GGYGO Pro deck, and then you're playing like one of the decks in the top half of those top decks of the format, there's validity to playing it, right? And clearly people have done well with it. And it's up to you to really be able to navigate the format. If you're playing a mid-range deck and you're struggling against these combo decks, maybe you either play the combo deck or you find another mid-range deck that can handle that combo deck, right? Like, that's just how that is. And if you're playing a combo deck and you're getting tired of versing all these mid-range decks, then either find a new combo deck that deals with it or play a mid-range deck, right? There are times in the game where people do swap between the combo decks and the mid-range decks. And I used to be of the mindset that you're either a combo player or a mid-range player, but you're not. That's just not real. You are going to play the deck that you want to play at the time, and whatever that deck ends up being, if it's a combo deck or a mid-range deck, you're going to end up playing it. But it's really good for mid-range players and combo players to play the opposite deck. Because if you're playing against a lot of mid-range and you're losing to mid-range, if you play mid-range, you understand the play lines of mid-range, and then you can navigate combo better into mid-range, and vice versa. And I feel like that's also really important because a lot of people get mad at things like combo, but they're also not looking into what the biggest choke points are. They're just playing against it and they're like, oh, it's too much. Where there's a couple really definite interruption points that could be really impactful if you just learn them, right? And I just wanted to make this video to really talk about the fact that, like, friends, this game is hard. Both of these can be true. They can both be hard to play. It doesn't mean that one is worse than the other. they both have their own merit, and they always have. That's why mid-range and combo are still two different types of decks that people play in the game, because they're both extremely popular, and they both have times where they're extremely hard to learn. So if you take anything from today's video, I hope that it's that maybe you're a combo player and you try the mid-range deck, or you're a mid-range player and you try the combo deck just to learn it, right? And, you know, we're going to keep playing this game, and we're going to keep seeing these decks come up and up and up and up. You know, it's just going to happen. So, like, just take it with a grain of salt. You know, they're going to be hard to learn. Any deck in this game can be really hard to learn, you know, and it is one of those things where it's like, the second you sit down and you really start understanding and reading the cards, it's just going to become a lot more convenient for you in the future, because if you see it again, you're like, oh, I know what this does, right? Even if it's combined in some combo slot pile, right? So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I know that was a lot, but like, this is something that just has been a discourse now for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, listen, I need to make a video on this and talk about this, because like, this is just ridiculous. But I hope that you enjoyed today's video though, and you all have a wonderful day.